I hope after the lunch everyone is happier. Yep. No? OK. Anyway, let's start. So, hi guys, my name is Serg Hospodarets, and I'm a front-end developer based in Dublin, and I love everything related to the web, especially CSS and JavaScript. So today I'm going to talk about, do we really need preprocessors these days, or we can just use all the power of CSS, and you will see that, yeah, actually, there are many, many things you don't use now. Yep. Cool. To understand if you really can switch from preprocessors, so let's start from actually understanding how many of you use preprocessors. Just show me your hands. Most of them. OK, pure CSS? Few, but still. OK, and today you will see that actually on pure CSS you might miss something, and yeah, we'll see. Let's remember, let's recollect the history of CSS. So what was in 90s? In 90s, the journey of CSS actually started. So before CSS was invented, it was just mix of everything. You see styles there, some attributes, and tags like Blink and sites like Space Jam actually were top of technologies at that time, which sounds strange today, but it's everything what we had at that time. I was too young, so I think we in terms of community. 1996, CSS was invented. Why? It was invented to solve all this issue, to separate the content, which is HTML, and the styles, which actually CSS. So today we use styles for backgrounds, layouts, colors, everything. So we got used to this. But CSS had own problems. I said hate, and hopefully after a while we'll get rid of this image. So absence of variables, absence of mixins, everything what we have now today in preprocessors. Modules, in terms, we don't want these huge CSS files, we just want separated styles for navigation, for variables, for everything like that. Nested rules and code duplication as a result of all this actually in CSS. As a silver bullet to solve all these problems which I mentioned here, actually preprocessors were invented. As you see, SAS, less styles, that one after another, they added more and more abilities and actually solved a lot of problems. Let's take a look actually which problems solved preprocessors. As a main preprocessor for today, I will use SAS because it's one of the most popular, and actually most of us familiar with its syntax. So variables. We got used just to say that, OK, here is my variable I've declared, here is value, and use this across the application. You can also provide some operations, multiply, add, everything. So we like and use this ability. Mixins. Mixins, the idea of mixins is actually to put this reusable bunch of styles, like king of mixins, usually it's clearfix. So you put reusable styles and reuse them across the application. When you want to change the styles, you change this in one place. It's applied automatically everywhere. Cool. And nesting. What is the idea of nesting? Everyone, I hope, knows that actually to represent the HTML structure in CSS. If you have this navigation with li, with some links, you just do the same in CSS. Instead of strange selectors like nav, li, a, which is actually hard to understand, you just do this. And modules. This is an example of a project where I just used some settings. I presume it's actually foundation. It's not my project. So settings, everything separated in different files. But again, as a result, we just import. And as a result, it's compiled to one file, which is loaded per your application. Maybe two. Depends how you organize your file structure. So you see, the preprocessor solved a lot of problems. And for today, we use Gold Trio SAS less stylus, Mies. Post CSS starts being more and more popular, so we have plenty of them. But again, preprocessors actually have own problems. So let's take a look. You have a project, plain CSS or something, and as only you need to add preprocessor, you provide some additional setup. You have some build, you provide some settings, it's grunt, gulp, npm scripts, anything. And OK, you created this, read how it works, and did this. Any change, so after any time when you even change the color, when you change something, you recompile every time and you wait and waste your time, waiting for compilation. Your time, guys. Every day you just spend time waiting, which is not the best thing. And even worse, Every time when you use new preprocessor, you learn new syntax, correct? Let's take a look. SAS less, very popular. Here is dollar variable, nice. Here is at variable, which is strange, yeah? And here is surprise, at variable, at actually use it for mixins. Why? Just because. The same dot clear fix. So it's not acceptable to learn every time the new syntax. But it's something what we have in preprocessors today. Even though you configured everything correctly, you provided, you waited time for compilation time, you provided source maps, and here, you see, I'm trying to find actually from where the styles came. And browser showed me absolutely something different. So it's not shit happens, it really happens, yeah. So even the bug is buggy, sorry for this. Let's summarize. What we want: variables, mixin, nesting modules, and some selectable helpers, color functions. There are many, many good things in preprocessors. And what we don't want: this additional setup, compilation, not wasting time actually, not standardized syntax, not to waste time to learn every time something new, and this buggy debug. And the main question I want to answer today: does CSS actually have all this today? And we will see. Variables. We want to start from variables. So the first variable in CSS is actually there for years and years. It's current color. Current color actually represents the text color which is applied for current block. Let's say you have paragraph text, usual text, and disclaimer. Usually it's red or something like that. And you want actually links there to follow the same color. So you see, I'm just saying color, current color, border color is current color. You see, it will be applicable. Doesn't matter which color you apply for your text. Your links will follow this. So it's actually a variable which links to the color. Nice. So it's there for years and years and works everywhere. And now we have a new idea. It's actually CSS custom properties. Who heard about CSS custom properties, guys? Few? Somebody else? Yeah. So not quite few. So they also know CSS variables. The proper name is custom properties. I will show you why and explain. Surprise, for 1 year, it works across all the browsers, except, you know. So, whatever, but I have good news, guys. After a while, so you see how many stars? Currently, it's about 5,000 votes. After a while, it will be available even in Edge browser. So currently, Microsoft guys work hard on this. And let's say after months, it works absolutely cross-browser. And you can use this without any compilation, without preprocessors, anything. Let's take a look into the syntax. Syntax is like, OK, how to declare a variable? You're just saying, OK, here's a variable name. Here is actually value. Something what you got used to do in preprocessors, but it's in pure CSS. And then how to use, just use var function and inside variable name. Here is the example, root. So root is actually scope, usually in HTML, just HTML. Yep. So if you provide for the root scope some variables like main color or main background with some value, you can just use this across the application without any problems. You see, and actually I would agree, this dash syntax is ugly. What is the reason? Why not to use $? Why not to use something else? The reason is actually straightforward. You can use, this syntax was invented such way to reuse CSS variables inside preprocessor. So for now, you can use both. Inside your preprocessor, you can just provide variables, and they will not be touched by preprocessor. So you can actually use power of both. And examples. Your question, what can I put as a variable, is simply to answer anything. Anything what is valid CSS, you can put there. You see, hashed colors, named RGB colors, named colors, no problems. Layout variables, even something like strings, and even better, functions like calc. Calc you can also put there. And here, why? I have this pink. Here you see you provided some conditions there. I'm not sure how you can work with this in CSS, but later I will show you that you can read and actually write CSS custom properties from JavaScript. In JavaScript, it might be helpful. So let's go forward. Defaults. As in many languages, we want to provide something like, if my variable is not defined, use a default one. This is the second argument in variable function. You see, let's take a look to this example. If p margin is provided, it will be used. Otherwise, if it's not provided as a second example, the default value is applied. Okay. What else? As you see, according to the syntax, CSS custom properties actually look and work as additional properties. So if you if you use it that, sorry, it's actually about better to explain on this slide. As for any other properties, you can use initial, inherit, anything else what available in CSS. Initial, you can just using initial, you can reset the value for the scope. So actually, the variable will be reset. Here, I just showed how to reassign variables from others. You see, you can just concatenate variables. If you have variable block, you can concatenate this with something else, and it works. So, yeah, mostly everything. Maybe something is forgotten, we will see later. Here is the answer why it's CSS custom properties. Box shadow color still doesn't exist in CSS. So for this property, let's say on hover you just want to change the color of box shadow. What you do now? You provide box shadow 0, 0, 30 pixels and new color. What I want to do, just to change custom property box shadow color. So you can use CSS variables, actually the proper name CSS custom properties, to provide non-existent properties as well. And scopes. I just mentioned about scopes. As in JavaScript, as in SAS and preprocessors, anywhere, there are scopes. So root is actually global scope, as usually. If you provided some variables there, it's available everywhere. Then you see in my example, it's special HTML. If you provided something for block, it's available for this scope. And you can reuse this in block highlight because it's inside the block DOM element here. So the idea of scopes is just global one, more specific, more specific, more specific. As you might expect, CSS and preprocessor scopes are different. And here is the reason. Because preprocessor doesn't know anything about your DOM structure. It knows only about your code. So in preprocessor, the scope is actually, let's say, this structure. Inside this structure, if you change font size, you see, to 42, it will be 42 only here. But block highlight doesn't know, sorry, preprocessor doesn't know that in your structure you might use block and block highlight. In CSS, it's vice versa. CSS knows about your DOM structure. So CSS scopes inside HTML, inside browser, it's actually dependent on your HTML DOM structure. So it's easy. Preprocessor depends on the structure of the code. In CSS, depends on HTML DOM structure because it's alive. And scope examples. What might be a good example of scope? So global scope, yeah, media query. When you're saying, okay, my variable value is different for tablet browser, for tablet sizes or for mobile browsers, it's a scope actually. And the same for states. When you say my variable is different for hover, my variable is different for something else, yeah, as we saw for box shadow color, it's a scope example. And let's take a look to a demo, so demo time. Variables are alive. Here, I want to show you the code. The code says, okay, here's screen category. Maybe, let me do this a bit bigger. I have a variable, screen category, and I'm saying, okay, for smaller sizes, it's like, show me assign to this variable tablet. Even smaller sizes, assign phone. And you know the best way to debug with CSS variables is actually CSS. What might be better? Because in CSS, I'm just saying, okay, show me this in body pseudo element after the value of this variable. Let's take a look. Here you see, it's actually after block, which shows this, and it's alive. There is no JavaScript. You see, it's desktop, tablet, phone. So it's like, cool, no JavaScript, but you still have everything for the control. Cool. Operators and calculations. As I said, you sometimes concatenate things, sometimes you multiply or anything. What you usually do in preprocessor, if you have some global font size, in some specific place you want to multiply it, to have a little bit bigger font size. It doesn't work in CSS. When you just multiply, CSS just reads it's like 1 rem multiplied to 1 and 5. What I have to do? I don't know. What do you mean? Any ideas, guys? What I have to do? Calc, correct. As only you use calc, because calc is invented exactly for this. Browser will calculate any values for you. Calc is supported everywhere, so don't think it's something what you cannot use. And it works immediately. Calc to multiply, to provide any operations, anything. And demo. Again, demo time. I will show you this demo in Safari because Chrome doesn't like too many dots after, too many integers after the dot. So here, is it Safari? Oh my God, Safari also doesn't like, you see? It doesn't provide these colors. So let's open Safari Technology Preview. It's beta version. And here everything is OK. Surprise? No. It doesn't like me. Strange. Anyway, I will explain you here. I have 3 sliders. What I do from JavaScript, I just assign a new value here, R, G, and B. You see, from 0 to 255. Nothing else. It's actually assigns a global available the CSS variable R, G, and B. And here, I just calculate. Come on, just show me the styles. Here, I'm saying background color is actually generated from variables R, G, and B. And you see, it's applied immediately on the fly. OK, I want to go with user. I want to provide grayscale color. We don't want to invent Instagram here, but you see, I know the formula how to provide grayscale color from specific one. So I'm saying, give me 20% of R, 70% of G, and something for B. You see, it's also on the fly. Like this. You can invert, you can go to provide some strange formulas. And here you will ask, what about the performance? What about the performance for all this? I use it in a demo. It's not available now, so sorry. With more than 1,000 elements, which actually are calculated with some strange formulas like this. I didn't have any problems. So performance for CSS variables, it's a good part. If you want to animate something, especially to use CSS variables, and performance would be nice. So as you see, it's there live. You can calculate, provide operations, anything. As I promised, so I want not only use this in CSS, but also put something to JavaScript, to interact this with, from JavaScript. It's a good example. What we usually do, we have breakpoints in CSS, like font, tablet, anything else. And you want to reuse this in JavaScript. Usually, you either copy-paste, or from preprocessor, there is a strange technology just to send this to JavaScript as a JSON. So you read this JSON line, then process, and oh, it's terrible. So how can you pass this using the new API? Everything is there. You see my CSS custom property font, tablet, which actually will be my use for media queries. And API is there. You just compute styles and get property value font, nothing else. It's available in your JavaScript. Even better, you can not only read in JavaScript custom properties, you can also assign custom properties. And I will show you a good demo how you can actually use this. Here is a CSS 3D cube. In this cube, I just use it, translate Z, rotate X, rotate Y. So let's take a look how it works. Ta-da! CSS magic. It's actually, you see, transform changes the position of this CSS cube. Rotate X, translate Z. OK, it just works from CSS, but I want some even better. I want it to interact with the user. Here, you see? This is applied automatically. So JavaScript just provides inlines variable, which actually are reflected here. And I can do something like this. Ooh, magic. So it's a very powerful thing when you can interact with from both CSS and JavaScript. Cool. But if I can use this in CSS, but sorry for so many, but it's not supported in some browsers, as we saw, for example, Edge. I want to understand when it's supported, when it's not, to provide some fallback. In CSS, you can use add supports, which give you an availability to provide fallbacks. The same in JavaScript. CSS supports is your friend. When it might be useful. When I switched one of my projects to CSS properties, I understood that it's actually sometimes you need to provide fallbacks. Maybe your customers ask you or something, but you still want to use custom properties. You check. If it's not supported, you remove an CSS custom properties file. For example, you generated 2 files, one with CSS custom properties, one with usual SAS properties, preprocessor properties. And you just load this fallback, which work across the browsers. And if you're not sure still that actually custom properties are better, you want to have another example. The good example might be color schemas. If you have a black site and you want to provide site which is actually which uses different background, different colors or anything, what you usually do? You provide some additional CSS. Anyway, you just create additional CSS using preprocessor for specific class on the body, or just specific CSS which is loaded, which says, okay, now color for this block is that, background is something different. What you have to do with CSS custom properties? You see, I'm just saying, here are my properties. I want to avoid here code duplication and too much CSS to be loaded by browser. I'm just saying, okay, here's my color, here's my background, here's something else. And you see, it's changed. Let's take a look why it was changed. It was changed because we loaded another CSS which just reassigned only these properties. The same for pink. Sorry for this, guys. Yeah. Maybe UX guys actually love this, depends. So here I loaded just different set and it works. It works immediately. You don't have any code duplication. You don't have to ask browser to load additional CSS. It's here. You just change it, values, exactly what you want. It's not possible to do with any preprocessor. It can be done only with custom properties. And cool, we are done. We have variables actually with all the power. They are alive. They work across the browsers except Edge. After a while, it will be there. So what else we wanted? Mixins. And the proper name is CSS custom sets of properties. Don't be surprised. I will explain you why. Let's take a look once again. CSS variable, CSS custom property. I'm saying variable and then value. What if I go and say, OK, guys, I'm sorry. I want to, few of you who actually use custom properties, did you know about CSS mixins? It works now, for example, in Chrome. Yeah. Anyway, so if instead of value you provide bunch of styles, like style declaration, do you see it actually, it looks as a mixin in your preprocessor, correct? And it works as a mixin. I will show you the syntax. Pin schema. I provide in color, I'm providing background color. And then just using special word apply, use it. So you see it will be one syntax across all the browsers. If you learn it once, it will work for you forever. And what apply does, it actually pin schema, inline, all this here. Reasons to use, as I said, reusable bunch of styles, avoid code duplications, and changes in one place. Everything from CSS variables, which we discussed, scopes, usages, interaction with JavaScript, everything is applicable for mixins, which is good. If you understood how CSS variables work, you have nothing to do with mixins, just provide a bunch of styles and apply a rule. Examples, clearfix, how to work with clearfix. I'm saying, here is my clearfix mixin, and they apply this. Straightforward, the same for overflow ellipses. If you want the 3 dots, just do this. Exactly what you do in preprocessors. And demo time. If you don't believe it works, actually, here, CSS triangle mixing. I will show you the demo. Here, I'm saying, here's my triangle to bottom. And I applied this for triangle to bottom HTML. How it works? If you know how to draw triangles, you have to provide just proper border width and border color. So I can change that. You see, it's applied on the fly. Because it's variable, reuse it in my mixin. I can change the actual size. You see, immediately. You don't waste time waiting for compilation. It works in your browser. And you actually change some variables, you apply mixins, and let's change even mixin, which is applied for this HTML. To top. Badam! Magic. So it already works in Chrome. After a while, it will be currently Firefox working on this. So CSS mixins. But guys, I tricked you a bit. As you saw, I changed variable about the size before the mixin because it's on the same level for the mixin. So actually, the current state, you cannot pass variables to the mixin as you got used to in preprocessors. But currently we're working on this. There are a couple bugs, and after a while, specification will be changed. That's the only one which missed. Did you know that one of the main reasons why mixins were invented just to solve problems with vendor prefixes. Of course, today we have auto prefixer. We don't care about vendors at all. But can we do this with native CSS mixins? You might be surprised, but Leo Verreau invented the way how you can just do this with custom properties. You see, with this zero specificity selector, you're just saying, OK, here is my variable, and I will actually assign some value after. As only you provide something like this, WebKit, Moz, anything else, it's solved for you. So yes, it's possible using CSS custom properties to solve vendor prefixes. Mixins are there, variables are there. Nesting. What about the nesting? Again, what we want to avoid. Here, try to read this code. What I can see, color table, color table. Oh my God, what is going on? I don't understand. So code duplication, once. Bad readability, I don't understand what is going on. So how to solve this in pure CSS? Actually, Topconf proposed the syntax. The only one difference with usually what you do in preprocessor is this and space. But actually, it's the valid syntax in preprocessor. If you do this in your code, it will work for both preprocessor, SAS for example, and for pure CSS. So the only one, everything else, like media, everything actually solved correctly. Let me show you the example. What if I have a very complex case? For my full block, I want to apply some specific opacity. Let's say you send a request to the server and wait until it answers, and you want to provide some UI feedback for the user, to some opacity for your block. If you use some complex selector like nest, it will say, when body has actually this class loading, apply opacity for my block. So as you see, this problem is also there, solved there for complex cases. Just use this add nest. So it's there. And migration is easy. As only you added that and space, that's it. Everything else is straightforward. Nice. And what else we wanted? Modules. Modules actually are in CSS for years and years. You might be surprised, but add import actually works. So how it works? If inside your style sheet provide like import 1, import 2, import 3, as you do in preprocessors, actually it will load inside the browser 1, 2, 3 in parallel. So everything will be in the correct order as you expect. But the main question, why we don't use this? Because before, browsers for years and years, especially something what we love, it's like IE, provided us problems. Even when you ask it like, load me styles 1, 2, 3, it can just do 3 to 1 or something else without any reason. So it broke all the idea. Even though this request for 1 to 3 was sent one after another. Currently, everything in parallel. So if you participated previous session for this movement to HTTP2, all this process of having one CSS file, game rules actually changed. So now you can use many files for JavaScript modules, for CSS modules, just straightforward, it was already in your browser. And advantages for free, which you can use. You can load, you can say, browser, load me mobile CSS only when it's actually mobile. So you see media queries here. So browser shouldn't actually load your CSS till this condition is met. So it's like something for free. OK, we have done with variables, mixin, nesting, and even modules. What else was there? Selectors and color functions. So for selectors and selector helpers and color function, my presentation will be available online, so I will not explain in so details all the syntax because it's actually straightforward. So selector helpers. What if I have some site and top navigations and site which are actually links for hover and focus states of which I want to change color? What you had to do previously? You provided 4 lines selector just to cover all this. Nav site, nav top, nav blah, 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 blah. What you do now? You just using this matches selector, which is straightforward. And it works already in your browser this way. So you avoided code duplication. What else? Custom selector. If you don't want to use pseudo classes, you can use custom selector. The idea is close to CSS custom properties. In HTML5, there are 15 input types. Can you imagine? It's like password, text, date, what else? Many, many others. So if you wanted to provide classes for disabled inputs, let's say, you had to write 15 length line selector, even though if you wanted to attribute it's 30 lines length selector. Now what you can do, you just saying custom selector and text name it text input includes all this text, password, date, blah, blah, blah. And then just do this. That's it. It's there. So custom selectors and colors. We all love colors. All the web actually contains this. And in most of preprocessor, you can say, OK, give me grayscale color, give me more opacify color, or something like this. There is such ability color which already implemented with a couple browsers. So you're saying, here is my color, give me a little bit more black, do some another magic or anything. But I will better it will be explained on the video. So take a look. So here I just use red color and then provide use some adjusters. So you see more black, something like that. And it's actually, I can go back to red again, you see? Plus 25, minus 50. And here's how it works. You can blend, you can provide anything, blackness, darkness, and even though, so blend colors, which actually looks like a magic. I think. And it's directly in your browser. So what we love and what actually we use, media queries, correct? We use media queries everywhere these days. But what we don't love, actually the syntax is really ugly. It's long, it's strange, but everything what I have to, want to do is a bit shorter. So in custom media level 5, it says that, OK, you can name custom media. If you use it breakpoint mixin for SAS, let's say, you know what I mean. Because in your projects, you use maybe something else, but it's the same idea. Everything I want to say, OK, for tablet, apply these styles. For me, mobile, something else. And here I provided, OK, my tablet is bigger, it's smaller than that. Then just I use this. So it's straightforward. And ranges. How many times you had problems like min width, it's more than or less than, max width is, again, oh, I don't remember. So just use range. More, less. And it works. You can actually use together this custom media together with ranges. And everything what you do is actually that. Let's wait. Yes, so I will answer in a couple of next slides. So the main question actually was just asked, can we use this all now? So current situation, CSS variables are supported in all modern browsers except Edge. CSS mixins work in Chrome Canary. Some others implementation are available in some browsers. Mostly it's the beta or dev versions. So should we again wait for a couple years as we did? No. Here. Dance. CSS Next is post-CSS plugin, which actually makes everything what I explained today available. Media queries, nesting, custom properties, custom media queries, with some limitations. I can explain later what are limitations, but they all are there. So if you use auto-prefixer, most of us do, instead of auto-prefixer, in post-CSS plugin, you're just saying post-CSS Next. Nothing else. Post-CSS actually includes auto-prefixer. That's it. You're done. Your build is ready for this stuff. And actually, we want not just use plugin. We want to migrate. As only something is available in our browsers, which we support, we want to do this. So let's take a look at the approach which we can follow. You have preprocessor this day. You add in post-CSS Next. OK, after that, you can use everything what we talked about today, all these new features in plain CSS, variables, anything. So you change in variables, mixing media queries to CSS ones. After that, actually, you can consider disabling a preprocessor if you want. You have post-CSS with all the CSS additions inside. As only, so you, as only, for example, variables are supported across all the browsers which you support, you just disable CSS Next for specific, like, don't process variables, don't process CSS mixins or anything. And as a result, you have a pure CSS. This is the migration path I just followed, for example, for one of my projects. I will show you later. And the question you might ask, like, what to use this day? Should I just switch to pure CSS? Should I still use preprocessor? After everything what I did, I would just suggest you use both. As you saw, they can be combined, and the best to combine and use power of both. For example, CSS variables are much more powerful than preprocessors, but you cannot do some magic what is available in SAS, like super mega custom selectors, functions, or something like that. And what about live examples? I have something what I can show you. It's my blog. I switch it to pure CSS variables, for example. You see, as only I just change something. Here is my site, so you can open and take a look. It works everywhere except Edge. As only Edge starts supporting CSS variables, it will work there as well. Here, you see, it's applicable. It's applied on the fly. Even logic, how many buttons should be here. I switched everything using post CSS except variables. Variables are just straightforward. Nothing is touching my CSS variables. So conclusions for today. Today we have plenty, mostly everything what we needed from preprocessor in pure CSS. We have these variables, mixin, modules, nesting, and complex selectors. And we have even polyfills to make sure that if something is not supported, we can make it work for browsers which don't support this. And we even have the real examples of already migrated applications, which you can follow and see how it works. And how you can stay tuned. You can subscribe to CSS Working Group editor drafts or mailing list and some spec proposals, and even so, CSS Next issues. Or actually follow me on Twitter, where you can just know about the latest browser editions and all the situation about the future of CSS. That's everything I wanted to talk about today. Thank you, guys. And now questions time.
What about Internet Explorer?
Correct. Limitations or something. So Internet Explorer, if you use post CSS plugin, it will make everything work for any browsers, even for Internet Explorer. But post CSS plugin has own limitations. Like, as you understand, preprocessor cannot know about your DOM structure. So what they did is like they applied they make work CSS custom properties and mixins only on global level for root. So it's like if you use only global properties in your preprocessors, you can switch. If you use this inline in your special scopes, you cannot. You can consider something else. That's the limitation. I understand. Today, many people say that Safari is new IE. Yeah, we have difficult situation, but I would propose you what I usually do. If there is some bug in Edge or something, just go to that site and say, guys, you have to add some new technology inside your browser. Or I'm pretty sure that there are some already people who voted for adding this technology. As you saw, for half a year, we just all fight it like, please start support CSS variables because they are supported everywhere else. You see, Microsoft answered, yeah, it took half a year, but yeah, it works. Just don't actually hesitate to say yes. Internet Explorer, IE till actually 11 are not supported by Microsoft, so even don't think to use to support them because there are many security issues and blah blah blah. Something else? So thank you very much. Yeah, enjoy your day.